Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our iMSA program webinar. My name is Casey Jones. I'm the Senior Associate Director for Recruitment and Admissions with our graduate programs at the University of Illinois Gies College of Business. I'm joined today by one of my colleagues, Kate Deering, who is going to be in the chat answering some of your questions. So do feel free to put them either in the chat or the Q&A, and Kate will address them there. And we'll also have some time for live Q&A at the end of the presentation as well. I'm also joined by one of our iMSA current students. Kathy, would you mind giving us a quick introduction, just a little bit about yourself, when you started the program, where you're joining from?
Yeah, sure. I'm Kathy. I'm a current iMSA grad student. I am in my second year of school, so I'm almost graduating soon. My background, I have some accounting background, working in real estate currently, but I did some public before. Yeah, hope that gives
Kathy,
enough
where
of
are
my
you
background.
located?
Yeah. Oh, I'm also from Seattle, Washington. Yes.
And my apologies if I have any delays. We're going to do, I think we're going to do the best we can. If not, Kate will hop in if necessary. Okay, so jumping in to our agenda for the day, we're going to give just a really high-level overview of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and also Gies College of Business, which the iMSA program is a part of. We'll talk about the core pillars of our online programs within Gies College of Business, and then we'll do a little bit deeper dive into the iMSA program, the curriculum itself, what you can expect as an online student, as well as networking and engagement opportunities outside of the classroom. We'll also talk a little bit about the application and admissions process, our upcoming deadline, which is December 7th for a January start. And then, as I mentioned, we'll wrap things up with a little Q&A. So if you're not familiar with the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, we are a land-grant institution. Founded in 1867, we celebrated 150 years. Just a couple of years back, we are known as a Tier 1 public research institution. And we have just a few of the highlights of the university up here on the screen. We are consistently ranked as one of the top public institutions in the United States, known as the founder of the internet, 29 Pulitzer Prize winners from the campus, #1 rated campus for disabilities. We have a great disability resource center, which is also available to our online students. And I think one of the key factors is also that large number of alumni from across the United States and the globe. We'll talk about that more in a little bit, how to engage with those alums, both as a current student and as an alum yourself, and the value that that's going to bring to you. Gies College of Business, we're kind of leveling it down to the specifics on each slide. Gies College of Business is also known as a top 10 public business school here in the United States. Most specifically, our accountancy programs are world-renowned, consistently ranked in the top 3, both for our undergraduate and graduate accountancy programs, as well as our faculty. We've also received a number of accolades over the past couple of years, specifically for our work in the online space, from the publication Poets and Quants. So we were named the #1 business school innovation of the decade in 2020. In 2022, our online MBA program, which is a sister program of the iMSA, was named top MBA program of the year. That's not top online MBA program. That is across all modalities MBA program of the year. And our Dean Brown, who's pictured there, was the 2021 Dean of the Year by Poets and Quants. Also noting the number of alums coming specifically from the College of Business. Quick note before we talk about the online design, you will notice that I in front of the MSA program, the Master of Science in Accountancy. And I do just want to kind of call that out. The I refers to that online delivery. It is not something, however, that's ever going to be published on your transcripts or your diploma. At the end of the program, nothing is going to note that you did the degree online. So that's an important factor for you, displaying it on your resume or talking with future employers. Nothing in those official documents is going to indicate that delivery method. It's only how we differentiate things internally within the college based on the modality. Your degree at the end of the day will be a Master of Science in Accountancy, the exact same that our students here on campus would receive. Okay, digging in a little bit to our online programs here in Gies College of Business. We launched our first fully online degree in 2016. That was our IMBA program. The iMSA followed up shortly thereafter. And we had some key pillars in mind. We did want these programs to be flexible. They are designed for working professionals. About 95% of students in our online programs are working full-time professionals while pursuing their degree. We wanted them to be flexible in a way that students didn't have to jump straight into a degree. So we also refer to our offerings as stackable. So if you're not sure you're fully ready for a full degree program, you could start with a single course. You could start with a single non-credit course on the Coursera platform, and some of you may already be enrolled there. We also have recently offered or introduced graduate certificates into our portfolio, which I'll review in just a minute. And last but not least, we are online by design. These programs were launched pre-pandemic. We are very intentional about the delivery and the experience that learners are going to get in our online programs. We've invested a lot of time and resources, both in terms of the design, the faculty. These are the same faculty that teach in our residential programs, and they love teaching our online students because they are experienced working professionals that bring that real life, tangible, practical experience into the classroom and the discussions. This is another highlight of that stackable build. As I mentioned, if you finish today's webinar and you're like, I'm just not sure yet whether I'm ready for a full degree program, you could start with a smaller credential. We never want you to have to duplicate your work, so you can try out just a single course or start with a graduate certificate. Those graduate certificates are a series of courses, typically 3 to 4 courses, that do result in a credential from the University of Illinois as well. I'm not going to dig into these too much today, but we do have a number of offerings specifically within the accountancy space. If you're looking for the requirements to sit for the CPA or just to specialize in accounting data analytics, a graduate certificate could be a great option for you as well. You can also start in one of those graduate certificates and later take those 12 credit hours and stack them into the iMSA program, essentially being a third of the way done through that graduate certificate if desired. I'm going to pause there before we go into some of the specifics of the iMSA program. Kathy, would you mind sharing a little bit about your process in determining which program was the right fit for you? How did you land on the iMSA?
I looked at a couple schools and I applied to a few. And I actually did know a lot of people who went to UIUC, so I was like pretty intrigued in this idea. A lot of it for really applying for the school particularly was because I knew it was a well-renowned school, as you already mentioned. And part of it also, there have been like CPA questions and whatnot that have come and been produced by professors that are still working here. So I thought that was just like a great like addition to my learning. And yeah, so I plan on in the future taking the CPA, hopefully once I graduate. Obviously being prepared to study for that, going through all these courses should be able to help. So yeah, that's kind of why I chose this program.
Yeah, you already have an MBA, right? So
I
was it
do.
specifically to get that more specialized content in accounting and to be
Mhm.
eligible to sit for the CPA?
Yeah. So I did need a few more accounting specific courses. So my MBA was more in finance, which doesn't help. So I had to get a few more credits in there. So yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the iMSA program itself. So just some quick facts and a little bit about learners like Kathy in the program. So the tuition for this particular program does range from 20,500 to 27,000. That is dependent on the electives that you take in the program, and we'll talk about those electives a little bit later, but all students take a series of 5 core courses that's charged at a base rate of $850 per credit hour, and most courses are 4 credit hours. And then they have the option of taking additional accountancy electives or taking courses out of our IMBA program to fulfill their remaining 3 credit hours, or 3 courses, 12 credit hours. So that's where the variance in the cost comes. We'd be happy to break that down for you a little bit deeper based on your individual pathway if desired. This program, as we've mentioned, is designed to be flexible. So 18 to 36 months is the typical timeline for most students to complete the degree. We do give learners up to 5 years, however, if they need to take a semester off or something happens, maybe even a full year, that extended timeline is available. To complete the program in about 18 months, students would need to take 2 courses each semester. Extended out over 3 years, learners just need to take 1 course per semester. We typically recommend about 10 to 15 hours of work per week per course. Kathy, I think you mentioned you're finishing in about 2 years or 18 months. Is that right?
Yeah, 18 months. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so
Yeah.
18 months, certainly doable as a working professional. And then there certainly are options if you need to double up in some semesters and have the availability to do so, just scale back and take 1 course per term as that fits your schedule. We do have 3 official start dates for the iMSA program. As I mentioned, January is coming up. We are still accepting applications for that January start date. If you missed that or don't feel quite ready for it yet, we do have starting options in May and August of each year as well. A few more quick facts about our learners enrolled in the program. So the average age is around 37 with 10 years of work experience. I will note, however, we don't require any work experience for this program. So we do have learners coming directly out of their undergrad. We have students well experienced in their career as well. I hear all the time, I'm probably the oldest learner in the program, and they always say that's not true. We've seen students enrolled well into their 70s and 80s. 43 states represented throughout the iMSA, 35 countries across the globe. And I think this is the key one, 82 of the Fortune 100 companies are represented. So again, we'll talk about those networking opportunities a little bit later in the presentation. And you'll really see the value of that cohort, both in your coursework as well as in those experiential learning opportunities as well. For graduates, we hear great numbers as well. 94% of our graduates report good or excellent overall satisfaction with the program. 76% report receiving a new job opportunity or promotion while in the program. So these aren't 6-month, 1-year post-graduation stats. This is really real-time opportunity for growth. We also hear stories of students taking something they've learned in the class and applying it the next day at work, or taking a problem that they're experiencing at work and bringing it into class and having that discussion with their peers. The same is true when you're applying to new opportunities for promotions or growth elsewhere outside of your current work. So again, we see 3/4 of our students pursuing new opportunities as they're enrolled in the program. That result is an average of a 28% reach pay increase while in the program. Kathy, can you talk to us a little bit about what courses have been most impactful in your career so far? Maybe your favorite course you've taken?
I think honestly going back to the basics of accounting, so just like the core credits like that we have to take, those really solidified, I feel like, my accounting background and knowledge and reemphasize what I thought was more useful versus, I mean, nothing's not useful, but like what more applied to my work was stuff that stood out to me. So really like accounting, just the basic 501, the accounting analysis, that's like from the get-go, that was a great one for me just to get my brain back into this like hardcore terminology and being able to apply that to like loans, for instance, or whatnot, from my own personal experience. I also really enjoyed the coding aspect because I'm currently focusing more on the analytics concentration. So a lot of the coding that you learn through Excel and being able to apply that makes my job somewhat easier because I can simplify some of the work that I currently do. So a lot of that has been pretty adaptable and flexible for me to work with what I've
Okay,
learned. Mhm.
great. We're going to talk in just a minute too about the learner experience and what classes look like. One of the biggest questions we get though is how do I interact with my peers? So can you talk about maybe your experience with live lectures or group projects?
Yeah, sure. So our live lectures, it's great because they're like, I mean, they're recorded live, but if you don't have time, you can always look at the other sessions which are recorded. So they have two different time slots. So you can attend one at the nighttime one, which is the one I typically attend, being from a different time zone. I'm still working throughout when they're doing their lectures. So the later time zone works for me. And then in terms of group work, it's pretty nice because we're assigned different groups almost every semester, and you get to work together through Teams, Zoom, email, chat, and just be able to get to work together. So it's not like you only have one set group throughout. It's like a different group almost every semester, I would say.
Great. Okay, let's talk a little bit more in detail about the curriculum. Before that, though, I do want to just hit quickly on our student and academic success team, commonly referred to as advisors in many programs. But we do have a full team supported or designed to support our online learners. So as we go through this curriculum, no need to write down notes or be making decisions because this team is here to help you throughout the duration of your program and deciding which courses are right for you, helping you create a plan that is feasible based on your schedule. They're available through a variety of different methods, whether that's one-on-one advising, just quick email communications, or stopping in for express advising. So I always like to pinpoint them before we dive into our curriculum. So as I mentioned earlier, the iMSA program is comprised of core curriculum and elective options. Our core curriculum does cover those fundamental foundational components of accountancy. If you do have an undergraduate degree in accountancy already, some of these courses may look very familiar, and our SAS team, will work with you on providing alternative substitutions. But if not, this is really what's going to prepare you to sit for the CPA exam, to have a long and prosperous career in the accounting field. Where you can change up your curriculum based on your interest using those electives, which is a series of 3 courses. We've listed just a couple of those electives here, specific in the accounting field. But as I mentioned earlier, students do also have the opportunity to take electives from the full suite of IMBA courses. So maybe you need that core accounting curriculum, but you're also moving into a management position and looking for some of that strategic leadership to really supplement your career. So that's certainly an option. I do want to hit on the prerequisite requirements for the iMSA program. We don't require an undergraduate degree in accountancy, but we do require that students come in typically with one business management course and a 1 to 2 course sequence in principles of accounting. If you haven't taken those prerequisites, no worries. We do offer options to take coursework through our partner Coursera. I think Kate can drop information into the chat about those options, or we'd be happy to follow up with you after today's presentation. We talked a little bit about that online by design, and Kathy mentioned those live lectures. So our courses are comprised of 2 components. We have our asynchronous component, which is housed on the Coursera platform. These are, as a standalone, they are non-credit courses, but as they work with our high engagement component, that's how you earn credit hours through the University of Illinois. We often refer to this as a virtual textbook for the course. So there's going to be some pre-recorded lectures, self-assessed quizzes or peer-assessed assignments and quizzes. And this work is done asynchronously. It can be done in advance. And then it is paired with what we call that high engagement component of the coursework, which does include weekly live lectures, group projects, case studies, and really a hands-on experience. Those live lectures are generally offered 2 times a week. As Kathy mentioned, 2 different, try to hit some different time zones, typically once in the morning hours, once in the evening hours, Central Standard Time here in Illinois. While we strongly encourage students to attend those live lectures, they are recorded and available on demand. So you're never responsible for attending or never required to attend the live lecture. Solely responsible for the content that is covered there. So it always is available to watch on demand. We often hear students get value of attending live and going back and rewatching sections of the course as well. Many find that very beneficial for them. Here's just a few pictures of some of our faculty teaching in the programs. Kathy, I want to turn back to you. Can you tell me about how you structure your typical week? Some students I know work really far ahead in Coursera. Others do module 1 with Coursera along with high engagement, week 1 in the live course. What does a typical week kind of look like for you?
I think it depends on the course sometimes for me, and my day-to-day schedule in my own life changes almost like by season really. But typically, like so far for this semester, I typically try to I attend the live session, and then I'll review all my homework and the readings probably the next day. Do the Coursera stuff, and then like for the weekend I'll take all my exams and finish out the homework along with like some group work. But throughout that week, like after work, I'll probably just like focus on reading and trying to understand everything. Going back to the live lecture, actually, I do that many times, so for reference. So yeah.
Yeah, one thing we haven't hit on is office hours. So all of our faculty do offer office hours each week. Have you been able to take advantage of those, and have they been helpful in your studies?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've done a few, and maybe yeah, I've definitely done a few, just not for this specific semester. But yeah, they have been pretty useful. The professor usually has like more in, it's not like more in detail, but they definitely have like hints and like more explanations that sometimes they don't provide in class because someone, as a fellow student, will bring it up and they'll be like, oh yeah, great, like great question, like this is what I was thinking when I was talking about this. So they'll go into more depth. So it's been pretty useful.
Okay, good. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the opportunities outside of the classroom, immersions, iConverge here on campus, or virtual options such as Workplace. Have you had an opportunity to partake in any of those optional experiences?
No, I've only really had conversations through workplace, but I haven't been able to attend iConverge.
Okay.
So
Well, no worries. We hope to see you next year, though. It's
mhm,
definitely an experience
mhm,
that we would encourage um, any of our students or alums to
mhm.
participate in. So, okay, I'll talk through those a little bit. Let me get my slide deck back up here again. So, we do have a lot of opportunities to engage both virtually outside of the classroom as well as in person here in Champaign-Urbana on campus, but also across the U.S. And even the globe. So some of these opportunities we'll dive into a little bit more, but they do we call them iConverge, iConnects, excuse me, immersions, iConverge. Those are all led by the program itself. There are also student-led opportunities. So particularly if you live in a major metropolitan area, there are often opportunities to engage with other students living in that area, fully student-led. We've heard or seen posts on Workplace of people traveling for work and getting together for coffee or lunch with a student from a completely different city as well. This is one highlight. So we do offer immersions, typically at least twice a year. We've had both domestic and international immersions. Kathy, this would have been maybe a great one out in Seattle for you, but it's also nice to travel. This was a year or two ago, an opportunity to do a company visit. The domestic immersions here in the US are typically about 4 days in length. Allows an opportunity for students to engage in person, of course, but also get that hands-on experience. Those international immersions are typically a week in length. We have one coming up in Mexico City in January that we're really excited for. We've had previous ones in Brazil, Japan, and in South Africa. So a lot of different opportunities to engage in different parts of the globe. I do want to reiterate, however, this is a completely optional component of the program. This is a degree that can be done fully online from the comfort of your home or work or whatever works best for you. We never have any requirements to be on campus or elsewhere throughout the duration of the program. iConverge is another one that's big. It's hosted each September here on campus in Illinois. We have about 500 students on campus each September for a few days of professional development, networking. We typically attend a football game and a tailgate, so you get a little bit of that experience of being a college student on a college campus. I do encourage all of our students to attend or if at all possible, throughout the duration of their program. It's really nice to put a face-to-face with some of those people that you've been working with throughout the duration of your program. Kathy mentioned Workplace a little bit. This is another optional component of the program that is a social media platform. Essentially, it is hosted by Meta, but it's a private area for our students and our online programs to engage with one another. It can be, you can join subgroups. Those may be based on courses you're taking, your geography, interests that you have professionally or even personally. A lot of great connections can happen here, and this is a platform that you continue to have access to as a graduate as well. So we've talked a little bit about those alumni connections, but this is just one way to stay engaged post-graduation as well. And as I mentioned, here are just a few snapshots of student-led meetups to meet students that have got together in various parts of the globe. Again, these are typically pretty casual conversations centered around food or drinks, but a great opportunity to engage with learners that you may have not met in a traditional program, or that you may have met in a traditional program, but you are expanding your access through the online platform. Okay, I'm gonna pause there for just one more second. I'm gonna check the chat and make sure I haven't missed anything. Kate, feel free to Let's I have. Kathy, we're going to jump into application requirements, admission. Before we do that, though, thinking back before fall 2022, um, what advice maybe would you have liked to receive before starting the program? Or do you have any tips for our prospective learners that are joining us today?
I think just being able to manage your time wisely, just knowing that maybe some of your weekends will be spent, doing some homework if you don't have time to do it after work, which is like just a small sacrifice, but most of the time it's not like a whole weekend's worth of like, assignments. Like you still have free time and the ability to do things that you want to do. So yeah, nothing really changed in my style. I feel like I was always kind of studying here and there, doing some hobbies and whatnot. So I think like the program has just been a great addition to like my furthering my education, furthering my career, and like just keeping my brain active, kind of thing. So I've enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, time management's been huge. Communication skills is also a big one that I feel like I've been improving on constantly, which is something that you need just to be able to get along with the teammates, classmates, even at work. So those things I think have all been useful skills.
Yeah, great. That's something that we hear often. The time management, the communication are key ways that maybe people don't expect. But I think particularly when you're talking about an online program where you're balancing work and school and in a virtual setting, those are often key factors that are really beneficial.
Sure.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the admissions process. So it doesn't have to be as scary as it seems. I know we hear from prospective learners all the time that they're worried about specific components of the application. So our team is here to walk you through it, and we're happy to set up a one-on-one appointment if desired. But what we're looking for is a copy of your resume detailing your professional experience. Again, we don't require any work experience for the iMSA program. We are going to need copies of all of your academic history. For the application process, we just need unofficial copies that can be scanned and uploaded into your application. If it offered admission, we will need official copies of all documents, but you have a window of time to complete this process. So particularly if you're an international applicant or did your schooling internationally, this process can take a little bit of time. So maybe start on it, but don't over concern yourself. Again, if you are an international applicant, we will need all of those documents in the language the program was taken in, as well as the certified English translation. Within the application, you will be asked for one personal statement and a couple of short essay prompts. Please read those and follow them. That's my best advice there. I think people put a lot of time and overthink those. Put your thoughts down together, organize them, read them over, and then go ahead and move on to the next part of your application. We do require 2 recommendation forms. So we don't need a standard letter of recommendation unless that is what the recommender desires. You as the applicant will fill in the names and contact information for your references, and our application system will send them an email with a link to fill out a short form with them detailing their experience and giving an evaluation of you as an applicant. This process can be completed in about 5 to 10 minutes, so please do talk to your references in advance. Make sure you are asking for their permission, but also ensuring that this is going to be a relatively quick and easy process for them. That typically helps to expedite things. You're welcome to submit your application prior to those letters of reference being submitted, but we will need those letters of reference to complete the processing on our end. For students that live outside of the US, we will need an English proficiency score. We do currently accept the TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. The Graduate College here at the University of Illinois does have some exemptions for students that live in countries where English is the primary language. More information about that can be found on our website. We don't require the GMAT or GRE, which is great news for most students to hear. I will reiterate, however, for the iMSA program, we do require those couple of prerequisite courses. Again, our team would be happy to connect with you on options to complete those in advance of starting the program if needed. We do have a very limited scholarship opportunity. Unfortunately, that scholarship opportunity has passed for our spring 2024 enrollment cycle, but if you would like to be considered for a scholarship opportunity, applications for fall or August of 2024 will open in early 2024 and present that scholarship opportunity. Last but not least, if you feel for whatever reason, your academic history is not as strong as you would like it to be, or you're a little concerned about your English language proficiency, we do have a performance-based admissions track, which I would encourage you to apply for. Through that performance-based admissions track, you'll go through that standard application process, but if admitted through the performance-based, which we call PAT, it's a conditional acceptance that you take a couple of courses as a non-degree student. If you perform well in them, then you are admitted to the full degree program. Those courses come along right with you, kind of that stackability model. So no additional coursework or no additional fees in the long run. After you submit that application, our team does an initial review of your materials. If anything is missing or we need clarification, we will reach out to you. Typically, applicants for our iMSA program are notified in just a couple of weeks of submission if we would like them to do an asynchronous interview. That asynchronous interview is just a couple of questions with a recorded response that our team will then review. Once that asynchronous interview is completed, decisions should go out within just another couple of weeks. So if you have a completed application, we do review applications on a holistic basis and on a rolling basis. So we can typically get you a decision within just a couple of weeks time, excuse me. I've mentioned it a couple of times. We are still accepting applications for our spring 2024 cohort, which will start in January. The final deadline for that cohort is Thursday, December 7th. All applicants will receive full consideration. Be on the lookout for an email tomorrow about a new promotion that we have going on as well for applicants that apply by that deadline. Classes, as I mentioned, start in January 2024. If you are still missing those prerequisite courses, I would say we're getting a little tight on that timeline, but we could talk with you about your options. Excuse me, I lost where I was going with that one, but we would be happy to consider and talk you through those options. If you miss January, we do have start dates in May or August of each year as well. With that, I'm going to pop this final slide here up on the screen. We do have a QR code up there if you would like to scan for more information or to connect with our team. We're always happy to do so. We also have our email address and phone number. Kathy, I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm going to take a look at the chat here and make sure we haven't missed anything. Kate, feel free to share if we have.
Yeah, Kathy, actually, there was a couple questions. Can you share a little bit about what a group project would look like in one of your courses? There was a question about, how related to current business problems or small business examples are the class projects? How what kind of coverage do the faculty members have within their classes on that type of thing?
Man, I've done so many projects, and I feel for one, I remember that I particularly liked was a small like auditing case when it came to, so we would have to, the case study was basically we would look into if this company created fraud by using like Excel to create charts based off of these laws, etc. Um, um, and yeah, so I think that was one of my favorite cases. I'm taking auditing right now, and auditing and taxation, two separate courses. One, we just did a tax, like we actually filed a paper tax return and everything. And then this semester we're just about to start our case with our group. So I haven't really looked into it quite yet. But I think there's just a lot, there's just so many like projects that I can't really think of any other specific ones. Unfortunately, that's not really fresh in my brain. Um, but I mean, there's been a lot of projects even for like just Excel, and like learning how to like just do data analytics through that, which I think is really applicable to any small business or large businesses really. So it's not just like, just for audit or tax, it's just what I'm currently taking. So
For sure.
yeah.
Sounds like there's a lot of just real world projects though, as you move throughout the
sure.
program.
Yes.
One other question, what skills do you need to be successful in this program? I know that seems kind of general, but I mean, I know
Yeah.
I answered it in the chat, but I'm curious from the student standpoint, what you feel like would help students be successful in the program.
I feel like what I mentioned before, basically just like commitment, like time commitment, and just being able to like set a schedule and just being like active and like strict on it. I feel like that really helps with like just being successful in general. I mean, being able to plan ahead and like just you can like just like reviewing the Coursera components beforehand. I feel like that's pretty useful to help you with your classes when it starts, if you choose to do something like that, because you already go through the lessons, some of the lessons, so just being an
I'll just
active
take too.
learner.
I know there were some questions in the chat. This program was originally designed for people without an accounting background. So it is for both those entry level professionals trying to transition into this profession. However, we can customize that curriculum if you do come in with a strong background or feel like you're missing the a lot of people say I have the industry experience, right? But I was never really taught how to do it the right way. And so finessing my skills is really what I accomplished from the program. So I think it can be a great fit for both groups of individuals.
Yeah, and not everything you learn is just through Coursera alone. That's just like half of the stuff that you learn. Like we mentioned, the lectures are all done out of Coursera. Those are through our Canvas. We also have additional quizzes through Canvas, lectures, PowerPoints, readings, everything else. That's not like unrelated to Coursera, but Coursera is like another half of like what we learn essentially. Yeah, a lot of my classmates also are not, I mean, not a lot of them, but I have met quite a few classmates who are not in accounting already. So they're coming from outside businesses, business knowledge backgrounds. So without any accounting degree or what experience. So.
Hey, any other questions that we want to address live?
Yeah, I think that was it in the chat. I think we covered most of the questions that were there, if not all.
Okay, well, great. I want to thank everyone again for joining us today, and Kathy in particular for taking the time in addition to her coursework to join us. Glad to have you all here. We're happy to connect after the webinar. If desired, connect you with Kathy or another ambassador in the program. And then, of course, we hope to see your application for our December 7th deadline. Thanks, everyone.